Thank you very much. My mom is a gardener, and she made me plant my first tree before I even entered primary school. And I hated it, because it was a tiresome housework which I had to do before I was allowed to see my friends and play hide and seek in the forest. So I didn't like it. When I was 10, I started to plant trees because I wanted to save the polar bear. And then, now I'm about to finish my secondary school education, and I realized that all the NGOs like Greenpeace, they did all the work for decades already, not just for the polar bear, because actually they aim to save the humanity as well. My name is Jule Schnakenberg, and I'm very happy to be able to share the point of view of children and young people here today, because we are the ones who have to deal with all the problems that are not being solved today. We know that all the adults out there know about all the problems. The first sustainability conference was 20 years ago, the Limits of Growth report was published 40 years ago, but what has changed since that? There was really little action, and we wonder why. Maybe it's because of the varying interpretation of the meaning of future. For many adults, future might be 30 or 40 years, but for us children, future might mean 90 years, 2,100 might still be in my lifetime. So we wonder why other people take so little action. Because it's an academic question maybe, for some people if the sea level rises for 1 meter or 7 meters, but for some of us, it's a question about surviving or not. There are more than 500 families each year on an island called Kiribati that have to move to Australia every year because the sea level rises so much, so they lose all their houses. And we know that the adults know about that, and we are worried about it. But I'm not the only one who's worried. My friend, Felix Finkbeiner, was 9 years old when he was so worried that he gave a presentation in school about the extinction of the polar bear. And then he found out about Wangari Maathai. It's a Kenyan woman, and she got the Nobel Prize for Peace because she planted more than 30 million trees in 30 years with the help of many other women. And he was inspired. So spontaneously, he finished his presentation with the words, "Let's plant 1 million trees in each country of the world." His teacher liked the idea, the principal liked the idea, all his friends liked the idea. And that was the moment when Plant for the Planet was born. And the story of growth started for us. So then, this whole initiative grew really fast. In 2008 already, Felix spoke in front of the European Parliament. In 2009, he was on the United Nations Conference for Youth and Children, and more than 100 children signaled their support for the vision of Plant for the Planet, and they said they want to plant 1 million trees in their countries as well. In 2011, Felix spoke in front of the United Nations headquarters in New York. When he was 12. He was the first and the youngest child that ever spoke in front of the United Nations. And that's incredible. And it's all about planting trees. Planting trees is something really, really easy. Once in an interview, a reporter asked me, "So how did Plant for the Planet become so successful?" And then I answered, "Oh yeah, because everybody understood how climate change actually is really dangerous for us as humanity." But then I started thinking, and actually, it's more about the core idea of the initiative. It's doing something good and sustainable together with other people. And planting trees is something good. It's really cheap, it's easy, everybody can plant a tree, and that almost everywhere. And it's a symbol. It's a symbol because we, as young people, can take action. We don't want to wait for someone else. And it's measurable. It has a measurable impact. Once I went to a company who had different locations in all around Germany, and I asked them to plant as many trees as I could. And the employees started competing with the other locations who can plant more trees, all by themselves. Because it's a number, how many trees did you plant? So it was a competition. That was really cool. And then, we grew much bigger. And then, we came up with the idea of climate justice. Climate justice is a concept that describes the right of every single person on the world to pollute the same amount of emissions, which will be 2 tons per person. But there are some people who might not pollute 2 tons, and there might be people who want to pollute more, but they have some money. So we want to establish a trade that people can buy emission rights from other people. These people can use the money to invest in their own healthcare or education. We, the members of the Plant for the Planet movement, call ourselves ambassadors for climate justice. We want to promote climate justice, but at the same time, we want to plant 1,000 billion trees. 1,000 billion. That sounds like a huge, huge number. But if you think about the current world population, that would make 150 trees for each of us. 150. That's the number that would be able to absorb 25% of the man-made CO2 emissions. We would have space for 1,000 billion trees without even causing any problems in civilization or agriculture. Each of us, 150 trees. We know that's possible. Once I met Anouk, she's 12 years old, and she started funding money to plant trees before she even graduated from primary school, just because she wanted to start by herself. She didn't want to wait for someone else. I met a Canadian guy who was 14 years old, and he said, when I asked him, why are you planting trees? He said because he's worried. And his worries made the 14-year-old boy starting to plant trees and gather all his friends. There's a 12-year-old girl from the United States, and she said her generation would be the first who's affected, or which would see the effects of the climate change. And if we work together, can be the last one as well. And we do work together. Today in the morning I checked, and the children of Plant for the Planet planted together already 14,201,626,702 trees in less than 10 years. We are not climate researchers. We don't know if the sea level rises for 30 centimeters or maybe 7 meters. But we know for certain that if everybody works together, we are able to achieve our goals. We are able to plant 1,000 billion trees until 2100. And we are able to establish climate justice, because then we are able to tackle 2 crises at the same time. The climate crisis, because we take out so much coal, oil, and gas out of the ground that it took the sun 1 million days to store it there. And we have a poverty crisis, because every day there are more than 1 billion people who live with less than $1 per day. So if we establish climate justice and we would plant 1,000 billion trees, we are able to tackle both of these crises at the same time. And now I would like to invite you. I would like to invite each of you to plant 150 trees. Gather your friends and go out. So we are able to build a forest where even my children are able to play hide and seek with their friends. And never forget that 1 mosquito cannot do anything against a rhino, but 1,000 mosquitoes can make a rhino change its direction. Thank you very much.